Hey, present tense, good evening, good Thursday evening. I hope you're all doing well and had a fantastic day. I am hopping on here for part 2 of the 2-part series to do with trauma bonding, which was a topic by request of a group member. And I'm really glad to see the feedback. I'm glad that it has been helpful for people. That is completely the intention of this group. So it just does my heart so well, so well to see that video was helpful to people in this group. So part 2, we're going to focus more on what you can do to get yourself the hell out of it. Okay. Part 1 was more of an introduction to what trauma bonding is and a definition of what it is in terms of narcissistic relationships. And I should clarify that yesterday I should have clarified that although quite common in narcissistic abusive relationships, that's why I just kind of generalized it as something that people go through as a result of narcissistic abuse. It can be something that takes place in any kind of relationship with someone who is personality disordered and abusive, okay? So narcissism is what we normally see trauma bonding occur with. But again, any borderline personality disorder, we can have these trauma bonds. So just to clear that up, so I also gave you yesterday 6 signs that you're in a trauma bond, okay? And I also want to make clear that when I say in the trauma bond, that doesn't necessarily mean you're in the relationship still. You can be out of the relationship and be in a trauma bond. And of course, when you're in the relationship, you're definitely in the trauma bond, all right? So I wanted to clear that up. So today what I'm going to give you guys is 8 actions you can take to start getting out of the trauma bond. Now, again, this is a huge topic. This is an overview. These are 8 steps you can take today to start getting out of it. But keep in mind, trauma bonding is something very, very serious, and often you need to work with someone, either a coach, a mentor, or a professional to really dive super deep into this and start the healing process. However, there are 8 things you can do today to start that healing journey off on a great first step. Okay, the first thing, number 1, you must understand deeply to your core what happened to you in this relationship. You need to realize it was really bad, okay? No excuses. No justifying it, no rationalizing it, no giving the person the benefit of the doubt. All the things that we were so used to doing when we were in the relationship are things we must stop doing now. If nothing else on this list, this is the most important thing that can get you real results in your recovery if you can start them. And this is the most important. You have to realize that this person, your abuser, is sick, okay? They don't deserve anything further from you and didn't deserve anything in the first place. Now, easier said than done, right? I know that we can wake up one day, we can remind ourselves of these facts, right? But then it kind of fades away. Oh, and those old excuses and justifications start creeping up. Very normal. Here's the action to take with that. And what you need to do is make a list, a detailed list. Not saying it needs to be super long, but a list of each and every single thing that they did to you that made you feel terrible or that was wrong, okay? Make that list and look at it and read it over multiple times a day. I'm talking 5 to 10 times a day, because we're retraining our brain to not go into that cycle of justification like we did when we were in the relationship. So that's number 1. Number 2 is also a difficult one, but doable. These are all doable. Continue staying present. Be mindful of everything you're doing, because your brain is going to try to start chatting monkey chattering, and talk you out of things. Our brains are obsessed with pain. And what we want to teach and train our brains to become obsessed with is pleasure. Okay? So keeping yourself in the present and reminding yourself and bringing your brain back to the present when you start catching yourself thinking or daydreaming about that person is really going to help. You've been tricked into this false universe by this person. So the actionable step here is to fight against that fog with bringing yourself mindfully back to the present. Number 3. This kind of goes along with number 2, but we want to interrupt that pattern of thinking. I know that just like we want to interrupt the abuse cycle, or we want to interrupt the cycle of negative thinking, this is another type of cycle that we want to interrupt. We need to purge that emotion and let it be. But let's say we've spent all morning crying and purging that emotion. Then we might want to rationalize with ourselves and bring ourselves back to present and say, now I'm going to take a break from that and I'm going to concentrate on something else. And there are actions you can take. Deep breathing. One of the things that really slows us down is taking a 5-second breath in and then 5-second breath out, like 6 times in 1 minute. That'll slow down our breathing, and that releases oxytocin to our brain, which is that feel-good hormone. So that's a really powerful thing that sounds like it's not going to do much, that really does a lot. But taking a walk, taking a bath, all these things may not sound appealing in the moment, but I guarantee you that a change of scenery and keeping yourself busy really helps. One thing I like to do is do a puzzle if my brain is full, because it puts my brain on a task, right? So that's another thing you might like to do. Using all of our senses, really. Working out, aromatherapy is great for this. It just using our senses to kind of interrupt this pattern that we have of this cyclical thinking can be really powerful. The 4th thing is we want to try to move towards what's good for us. And this, again, kind of piggybacks off of number 2 and 3, because we want to listen to what our bodies need. Okay? So if you are honestly having one of those days where I'm going to give you this excuse right now to do this. Don't do it all the time. But let's say you're having one of those days where you're like, I am mentally and physically exhausted. I need to do this. Fill in the blank. Maybe you need to not work that day, okay? So use a sick day or whatever. Or maybe you need to ask someone to help you so that you can have a little more time to yourself, okay? Maybe you need to spend some time doing something that really is going to get your brain into a good space and prioritize that. So maybe you had planned on cleaning the bathroom that morning, but instead, what would feel even better is if you sat down with that book for a little bit and read, or if you did a workout or something at home and you're going to feel better, prioritize that and take the guilt out. The 5th one is very simple, very short. Be easy on yourself and don't judge it. Don't judge it. Don't judge anything. Guys, when we become more like we're observers and we're not judging the way that we're feeling or the progress that we've been making, we open up so much more possibility and potential to heal. Instead of focusing on judging how we're feeling and judging what we should have done and judging that, oh my God, I should be farther in the recovery from this. Take the judgment out of it. Be an observer. Okay, that's just a short one. 6th one, very important. Guys, this trauma bonding is a result of abuse. Abuse, emotional or physical or whatever, it doesn't matter, whatever it was, it's traumatic. That's why we call this trauma bonding. If you think about it, this is something that must be dealt with. Okay, and sometimes we need help and we can't do it on our own. I highly suggest either starting therapy and EMDR therapy especially, which I have done myself. It's a type of therapy where You process through things, you reprocess. It's like rapid eye movement therapy. If anybody has questions on that, let's chat about it. It's really powerful. It's not scary. It's completely safe, but it is used for people with PTSD. And if you have been in an abusive relationship, you have PTSD more than likely, okay? So talking to someone who can be objective, talking to a friend, a support group, trauma likes to hide. It does not want to be shared, okay? If you think about when you want to reach out to someone, but you're so worried about what it's going to sound like, or you're like, I'm not used to getting in touch with these kind of feelings. Trauma likes to hide. It doesn't want to be put into the light. It's very normal that you're feeling that way, but take those steps to talk with someone, and even better if this person understands abuse, okay, and trauma bonding. Awesome. You could feel like $1,000,000 after you've done that, and keep that support. This person also, whoever this might be, a coach, a mentor, a therapist. The nice thing about if you have a friend or a coach or a mentor helping you with this is you have access to them a lot more than you do a therapist. And this person can be the objective person for you, and the person, they can serve as someone to hold these new boundaries that you're trying to make for you, and they can do that work for you until you're able to do it on your own when you get a little more healed and a little farther out. So watching my classes and is also really helpful. My trainings and things, very helpful to be validated. So that is another huge one. So I would say this one, number 6, is just as important as number 1. My dog again. Every time, you guys. Sorry about that. Number 7. So this one can be kind of annoying for people. I'm going to post a part 2. Someone's outside. Hang tight.